Well, hey friends, welcome back to the Purposeful Pen. So, this week we are going to talk about all things YouTube. And to help me in that, I have brought on my friend Rose Jordan. So, I have known Rose in different writerly
Spaces.
venues, spaces, contexts for several years now. We were accountability partners for a while. We've done collaborations together, and I just love all the work she does on YouTube. And so she was who I thought of. I was like, who wants to come and talk about YouTube? So thanks for being here, Rose.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Everything that I do now, in a kind of a ministry sense, is all under the banner of something called Beneath the Fig Tree. And it's all designed to help women cultivate a devotional life that they actually really love and look forward to. And that means understanding how you best connect with God, and then understanding also how actually a lot of the everyday things that you do, if your heart is pointed toward God, that's your devotion life. That's building relationship with God. So everything I do, writing, speaking, podcasting, it's all in that sort of vein, all in that direction.
I love it. I love it. And so then what role does YouTube play in that? You've got newsletter, you've got all these different pieces, but where does YouTube fit?
Yeah, YouTube actually would be my primary traffic generator. It's where people find me the most. So when I started Beneath the Fig Tree back in 2016, 2017, I started with Facebook Live in a Facebook group. And so camera was never a scary thing for me, really. The problem is that Facebook does what Facebook does. Number one, it drops down in the feed. Number two, the algorithm decides whether or not yours shows up in the feed at all. And now, number three, those videos that I spent so long creating and building a library of, if they were live, they are all gone now. Facebook has set a new policy last year where Facebook Lives disappear after 30 days. All of that library is gone. Now, I had a choice. I could have gone back, downloaded every single one of them, and then moved them over to YouTube, but I chose not to. I just decided to go ahead and pick up and start clean. The quality back then was not the greatest, and so it wasn't a huge loss, but there was some really good content there. But right before I laid Fig Tree down, so in 2019, I took on a full-time job that was way beyond full-time. So it took way more time than I realized. And when I accepted the job, I thought that I would be able to continue Fig Tree, and it turned out not to be the case. But just before deciding to lay down Fig Tree, I had recorded this long, I think it was a 20 video series called the 119 Bible Boot Camp based out of Psalm 119. It was all about, how to fall in love with scripture, how to understand it and read it and have fun with it. So that 20 video series was all that was there. That was all I had. They didn't do shorts back then. So these were my videos, and usually 30 minutes or less back then. Now I tend to stay around 15 minutes or less. But during the 4 to 5 year stretch where I completely, like 100%, laid down the ministry of Beneath the Fig Tree to focus on the job, that YouTube channel, those videos kept reaching new people, kept getting comments, kept growing in the audience. And there was kind of an inner battle with me about, well, I can't continue to serve those people. I can't keep going and giving them resources. Should I close down my YouTube channel? And I felt like Holy Spirit said, no, it's still serving people. I have a video of all of those videos that I did. The one that has had it exploded and it just has thousands of views, and never understood it, was the one I did on verse mapping. Now, my teaching style is that I'm very hands-on. I will walk you through, step by step, if it's online, click by click. And that's what people seem to be drawn to about the work that I do. So it kept growing. So when I came back to Fig Tree in 2023, I felt like God said, "Okay, now we're good. Let's pick this up and go again." That was all I had. YouTube was the only thing I had left. I'd closed down the Facebook. I didn't have the Instagram. I'd shut down my website, my domain, emails, everything. All I had left was YouTube. And it had continued to grow its audience. And people continued to ask, "Hey, do you still have those resources that you mentioned in the video?" And I found ways to give them to them. if I remember right, maybe I put them in a Google Drive or something and just said, here, take it and run with it. Where now it would be gated through as like a lead magnet or getting their emails. So it just kept serving people. All that time that I was away from Figtree, it kept serving people. But the big thing that YouTube has that Facebook didn't, even when I was doing those lives, and that's when Facebook was favoring video and before they dumped them after 30 days. What YouTube has that nobody else has is searchability and longevity. So it was a really big thing. But for me, it is the place where I am most often found. If a new person comes to my voice, it's usually through one of the YouTube videos, whether it's shorts or long form, and we'll talk more about that. But it's my primary searchability, even over my podcast. It's my primary where people find me.
Oh, that is so interesting on multiple levels, right? Like, so first of all, there's the spiritual side of, okay, you put these videos out there and then ended up taking this job that was just kept you insanely busy and you had to completely lay the whole thing down. And so, it goes against all the conventional wisdom of all the things, right?
Yeah.
Well, you have to keep being consistent. You have to keep doing these things. It's like, no, yes, those are good, but
Yeah.
God can bless whatever he wants to bless. And
Yeah.
despite our effort, in spite of our effort,
Yeah.
without our effort, with our effort, whatever. So I just love that God just kept blessing those
Yeah.
and using those, even though you were off doing your job.
Yeah. Men in
Um,
need. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, I have heard that YouTube is great for people finding you for that searchability piece. Um, so yes, so interesting. So now how do you use YouTube now? Where does it fit in the ecosystem that you have going on?
It has really become sort of a searchable library of my content. So it's less, with social media, it's constantly I am choosing to not think of it this way anymore, but for a long time, it just felt like with Facebook and Instagram, I just had to keep feeding the monster, keep feeding the monster. And it's like, God is giving me a different position on that. And we'll set that aside for now. But really, with YouTube, it's less about posting content and it's more about just building that searchable library where people can really start to get to know your voice. One of the things as writers is that when we publish a thing, we have worked the words, we've edited them, we've refined them, we've polished them, and put them out there, which is important. It's written form. But what you get differently from YouTube and from video content is that you actually start to hear the person's thought process. You actually get to know a little bit of the mannerisms and the character and the personality of the person that you're listening to. And so you actually get to see the human in it and you really start to connect in a way that you don't with writing. And I love writing. We're writers. But the video gives us a way to connect, even if it's a one-sided video where I'm talking and you're watching, you're still learning things about me. You're seeing my space behind me, which now they blurred. I don't know why, but that's where I might bring in my Snoopy, or you might see my coffee cup that has Snoopy on it, or you start to learn things about me where you don't pick that up in the writing form because what we write is final and published. So there's that. It is for me the really great place to just build my library, but it builds trust because of that ability to see your face and hear your voice. So it's huge discoverability for me, but it's really just kind of a layered approach, and we'll talk more about it. But using shorts and using the long form, all of that, the shorts are really the discoverability. The long form is where they start to build trust and that know, like, and trust factor we always hear about, that how they really kind of get to know you and your voice over time.
So yeah, let's talk about the shorts versus the long form content. That's kind of a newer thing.
Hmm.
They're kind of like Instagram reels, but not, right? Like
I mean, really,
how
it's the same thing. If I remember right now, I get confused between the back and forth. I think Reels is it up to 3 minutes. So if that's the case, then YouTube, I think it's up to 60 seconds, or they might be up to 3 minutes now. I can't remember. So it is still, it's basically the same thing, but for YouTube, and like Facebook did for a season and like Instagram did for a season, they're really pushing those shorts. Unfortunately, this is a little bit of a comment on society, is that that's where our attention spans are. And so we're used to just scrolling. Well, that is YouTube's version of scrolling. The short form content is those reels, because they don't have still posts, right? Like Instagram or Facebook, they have the shorts. That's their short form. So, but the really the difference in the way that I look at them is that the shorts introduce people to my voice. That's where a lot of people are finding me. Where the longer videos are where you build the trust. And we kind of talked about that. And I'll talk a little bit more about, I don't necessarily do shorts the way that a lot of people do. I take my long form content, which is usually 15 minutes or less. I aim for not too long. I don't have a hard stop, but I try to keep the content pretty bite-sized. So I'll take that long form content and then drop that into something like Riverside or Opus Clips or Descript. I'll drop it in there and let it help me pull out the bites, the really good, juicy, like hooks, the parts that are will catch somebody. And so I'll pull 5 or 6 maybe shorts out of my long form video, then do some really good work with the SEO and searchability and the description and things, and then post those as shorts and space them out. So right now, my podcast episode, and when I say podcast, my I do both. I'll record my podcast like we're doing through video, and then I'll upload it to YouTube as a video, and I'll upload it to podcast as audio. So I'm getting dual work out of that, but it's because I started with video in the first place. So when I started my podcast, I just stripped the audio from the video work I was already doing. So there's that. But my shorts, very few. I'm starting to do a little bit more original shorts, but most of my shorts are coming out of my long form content, which is helpful in that, number one, it helps to test that water of that content, so that if they hear the short and they like it, they'll go to the long form for the rest of it. But also, it's double duty on the work, so that it's repurposing work, which as writers and people who are doing the things, we really learn to repurpose our work.
Yeah, I have definitely learned how helpful it can be to have
Yeah.
one hub of
Yeah.
content, and then have spokes,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
of like, okay, we're going to take this and we're going to put it here, we're going to take that
Yep.
and put it there. And yeah, it makes
Yeah.
so much sense. It feels repetitive to us, but our readers, our watchers, our listeners, our audience,
Right.
they don't see it as repetitive. They have
Not
so
seeing
much
it all anyway.
content.
Yeah.
Right. They're not even seeing it all anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So can you put links in shorts?
So the way that they have set it up right now is when you go in, you download your short, you add your title and your description, and then all the other bits that you can do, the tags and those kinds of things. And then once you advance to the next screen, there's an option to add a card or add related content. And so then that's where I will tell it, okay, this video, this short belongs to that long form video. So like right now, the one that I'm editing is the updated version of my verse mapping video. And so I will, when I upload the shorts for that, then I will also, because I will have already uploaded the long form. That's really important. So I've already uploaded the long form, so that when I do the short, then I can say, yes, connect this to that long form. So then if they like what they're seeing in that short form, it takes them to the full length. Now, that's not how everybody uses shorts. That's how I use shorts.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. So AI generated videos, we were just talking about this before we hit record. Excuse me. The AI videos have become very popular, unfortunately. How do you see that this has changed the landscape? I mean, we've come across the AI Instagram reels of, the animal videos. It's like there's no way that's real.
Mm.
And all the other things that those have been used for. I feel like the landscape is changing as far as what we value. And I don't know, talk about the whole AI thing.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit. And I think both of us, as soon as you brought the topic up, our faces cringed a little bit. So I'm going to come at it from two directions. One, personally, myself, I have a pretty strong aversion to them. As soon as I spot them, I'm like, nope. And I'm like, get this out of my feed. I don't even want to see this producer anymore, this content creator. I don't want to see it. I have a really strong aversion to that. Now, that could be the space that I'm in. I'm in Christian nonfiction. I'm in the faith space. For other people, that may be totally different, and that's completely okay. But in the faith space, we want real and we want honest and we want authenticity. And so, on the rare occasion, kind of in the early part of those AI videos coming out, I would see a video and it would look really real. And so I was like, okay. And I'm thinking, and then when I realized I had been duped, like this is actually AI, I was like, nope, I don't want this in my feed. And now I spot them pretty quickly. So yeah, there is that. And that's just, here's the thing about it. AI generated content can be really impressive. It can look great, it can be super entertaining, but it is also really efficient at being generic. And that is a problem. So what I'm seeing though, especially in our space, in the teaching, in the faith-based space, is that people are really hungry for presence, not perfection. And I think that that's a lot of why we'll lean to AI, thinking it will help us clean up, make it more polished and pretty. And sure, maybe. But in our space, what I see, that's not what they want. They want presence. They want real. And you're not getting that from AI. And so, we want to know, is there like a real person on the other side of this? Is that they've actually wrestled with the thing that they're talking about, that I wrestled? Can I actually relate to this? Well, if it's AI, no, absolutely not. You can't relate really because there's no real human there. So the thing is, as content becomes easier and easier to generate through things like AI, trust becomes the differentiator and whether people will stick around. For me, for sure. Like as soon as I realize it's AI, I'm done. I don't want anything to do with this. So there you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Amen. So,
yeah,
yeah, in a way, this is kind of good news for us in a sense, because
absolutely.
several years ago when I first started my podcast, I was like, oh, I'll do double duty like you talked about with YouTube, and I'll just put the same content, I'll record on Zoom and then pull the audio and just have it both places. And I tried that. However, video editing is really much more intimidating, I think, personally, than
That can
audio
be.
editing. And I figured out audio editing okay, but the video, it's like, okay, but all right, what am I doing for a background? I don't have this pretty studio.
Yeah,
I have my house.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you worried about all of those sorts of things. And so I'm like, okay, I can't do all this. But then just a couple months ago, I heard from a writing coach, and she was talking about this whole phenomenon of how, because there's so many uber polished AI videos out there, that people are like, but I want
Hmm.
real.
Yep,
I want authentic. And you made a great point that it might be particularly in this Christian space, where we want to be there to help people and relate to people and understand where they're coming from. We really want real and authentic. And that's me in my bedroom with my dresser in the back,
there you go.
the door,
Yeah,
and it's real. There's no AI here. It's
yeah,
not polished,
yep,
but it's real. And so I think it can take some of the pressure off of us who are trying to put content out there that's like,
yeah,
okay, this doesn't have to be perfectly edited and all clean and pretty and nice,
yep,
because it's just authentic and real. And
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
I like that personally. I was like, okay, maybe we'll try this again and we
Yeah.
won't worry about polishing it quite as much. Um, so along those lines, some find YouTube intimidating. So yes, it can be a great way to be discovered and for people to find
Yeah.
you, especially if you're paying attention to things like SEO and your titles and your descriptions and all that sort of thing. Um, does somebody need like a fancy camera, special background, and experience in video editing? Like what do you need to get
Yeah.
started if you're doing?
So I'll start with really, there are three things you need. You need something that you care about. You need a willingness to talk about it out loud, and then you just need a way to hit record. And honestly, the cameras on our phones have gotten to be so good that I actually went in when I was getting ready at the end of last year. I knew I was getting ready to make a little bit of shift, and I wanted to put some effort into my recording equipment. And so I went into AI and I said, okay, I gave them actual descriptions. This is the phone I have. This is the iPad I have. This is the computer I have. This is the actual camera that I have that I could use. I haven't used it in years. And I said, of this equipment, what is my bet? Where am I going to get the best camera quality? And of all of it, he said the iPhone, use the iPhone. Well, we don't need the light on. Use the iPhone. It's got the best camera quality. Well, okay, that makes it easy. So then you can just do that. If you want to not have to hold it in front of you, then you get a tripod. I also have one of those little tiny foldable collapsible things that I keep in my backpack that it's just like 6 inches tall and it has a magnet on it. It'll hold it and hold it at different angles. You could do that. Now I've got my setup so that I have my phone, which is what I'm recording with because of everything that I have. It's the best option. I have my You can't see it. I'm pointing like you can see it right there. I have my iPad that's got a teleprompter, and we're going to talk about that and what I use that for. I don't use it for everything, but that's that. I do have extra lighting. You don't have to have that. If you can find a space that has good natural lighting, that's better. I don't have that here. I don't have windows in my studio here. So having some sort of natural light is great, but if you don't have that, you can get a really inexpensive ring light, which I have a big 18-inch ring light facing me right now. So it doesn't take a lot of equipment. Your cell phone can be it because these days they all just seem to have a really great camera quality. Outside that, like even I have a nice Canon Rebel phone camera, and it said, no, it's really not going to get you what you want. I'm like, okay. So no, you don't need fancy equipment. You don't need anything. Just if you good lighting, a way to hit record. But the bigger important thing is something that you care about and you can talk about out loud.
Yeah, I know for me personally, like I get hung up in all the technical pieces. Like,
Mhm.
well, do I have the right headphones? Do I have the right
Mhm.
microphone? Do I have the right camera? It's like,
Yeah.
no, step back. What do you want to talk about?
Yep.
Um, and so yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, and you
Um,
mentioned, I wanted to back up a little bit. You
mhm.
mentioned the editing can be a little bit intimidating and it can be time consuming. I have always done it I have a Mac, so I've done it in Final Cut Pro until recently. So one of the shifts that I made over the Christmas break was where I'm recording from and where I'm putting it into to edit. And so I've had a few friends recommend Riverside, and I thought, okay, let's give that a try. What I really love about editing, you can record in Riverside, but editing in Riverside is you can put it in there and I have learned when I'm recording, and you probably too with podcasts, you give yourself clues. Okay, no, I'm going back. I'm going to start and I'm going all the way back to this sentence or this thought so that you know where back to cut back to. Well, the great thing about that is where we don't see the words for it, we have to actually go back and scrub back to that place. Riverside, as it uploads, it creates a complete transcript of everything that you said, and so it will identify it, calls it fluff. Would you like us to remove the fluff? So it sees where you've said a thing and then you went back and resaid the thing. It sees that and it identifies it. And so you can tell it, yep, go ahead and remove that one. Yep, go ahead and remove that one. And then it will also remove, I can't remember what it calls the words, but when we say and those kinds of things, it will automatically find those for you. Well, that's a massive time saver and already takes a lot of the pressure out of it. And so for me, moving things over to Riverside this last few weeks, probably the last 4 episodes that I've done have all been edited in Riverside, and it's saving a lot of times. It has some limitations. There's some things that I can't do there that I did in Final Cut that I wish I could do. Some sort of B-roll and those kinds of things. My natural B-roll I would like to put on there, and it's not letting me do that. Hopefully they'll get to that. But moving to something like that for editing can be a lot less intimidating than if you're doing it, raw on like a video editor on your computer kind of thing. So that's helpful too. But if you're really feeling intimidated by all the things video, just know this, like you don't need confidence. at all. You need clarity.
Mm.
Confidence grows after you start. If you've got clarity behind what you want to talk about, that in itself gives you some confidence. And once you get the camera going and you start talking about the thing, the confidence grows.
That's a great point, that you don't need confidence, you need clarity. And that confidence grows, yes, as you
Yeah.
do the thing. I know from a tech standpoint too, there's another program called Descript,
Hmm.
which translates your video into like text,
Right.
and you can edit the text
Hmm.
and it will
Same
edit the
thing.
video. I was like,
Yep.
wow, that's
Yep.
really cool.
Yeah. Riverside
Um,
does the same thing. Yeah.
yes, so there are some fun things out there. Do you script all of your videos and read your script, or how do you do that?
Yeah. I script the intro and the outro
Mm-hmm.
so that for whatever reason, for me personally, it's the getting started thing that catches me. Once I get started, I'm good to go. But it's that, how do I, no, I want to, how do I start? Nope. So I go ahead and script my intro and outro because it gets me started. It's kind of like when you're writing and if you want to start a new writing project and you just sit back and think, but if you'll actually put the pen to the paper and just write something, that flow starts. It's the same thing for me. So I do script that and then I have notes for the rest of it. And so I mentioned the teleprompter. That's what I have that here for. My iPad is my teleprompter and it has that intro and outro so that I can get started. Because if I just get started, I typically am fine. But it's usually that, what do I say at the beginning? I need to go ahead and resolve that and just have it scripted out for myself. And that's just me. That may not be everybody.
No, I completely understand. And then, yeah, wrapping it up can be tricky too, unless
Hmm.
you have like, there's the same way that I've known some podcasters who have
I do.
the
Yeah.
same,
Yep.
more than just an outro, but just how you close out an
Yeah.
episode or an interview or things like
Yeah.
that is super
Yeah.
helpful. Um, are there you've covered so many things, anything else that you wanted to share about using YouTube? And we're talking this series specifically about growing your platform.
Right.
So in your YouTube, in descriptions to longer form video, can you put links for like a lead magnet or whatnot, or can you not do that?
Yes, and it's not just long form, it's long form and short form. And you do that. That's going to be one of the really important things. Like if you spend the time creating the content, do your content the service and do your audience the service of thoughtfully curating or writing out your title, description, and then any tags. Because that way, once you've put that content out there, it will continue to help the right people find it. That SEO and searchability is really, really important and I think that that may be a part of why the old 119 Bible Bootcamp series kept going is because I'd done a really good job of the descriptions, the titles, making sure that it's just like we have to do with everything else. What are people searching for? Use that language in the search and in the description. Because if you'll do that, it helps your content continue being found and it helps your audience find it. So those are huge things. But yes, you can put links. And I have learned I kind of have a template for how I build my show notes or description, same thing. And I'll total transparency here. I use AI for that now because I've already built the content. I use AI to help me put together and I'll say, help me write my YouTube title and descriptions with SEO and searchability in mind. And then he'll give me all of that. And so he's actually added some things that I wouldn't have. And he added the key takeaways. I wouldn't normally have done that. He's like, no, you need key takeaways because it's good for the searchability and SEO. Okay, we'll do that. But yeah, so I have links in there. I have links to my full, like the series that I'm doing right now, the season that I'm in is the 119 Bible Bootcamp. So I have a link that takes them, if they want to sign up for the whole hub, which is free, but that's where I put all of the links to all of the podcast episodes, all the video episodes, all the printable resources that are free. All of that is there. And so I have a link to that. And then I also down below, I have a link for them to join the Figs community over on Facebook because that's where we all practice and do the things together. So I've got I don't know, two, three, four different links. What video should you go to next? Or anytime that I've mentioned a link during the show, during the episode, and I'll say I'll drop that link for you down in the show notes. Well, in YouTube, your description is your show notes. Any of those links are there. So sometimes there might be 8 or 9 links in there, but yes, you can absolutely put your lead magnets or whatever resources that you talk about. And that's one way to continue to build trust with your audience. It's one way to continue to serve them in a meaningful way, is that the things that you've talked about or the other things that can help supplement the work that you've done in this video. Put that there. That builds trust. That gets them into your bigger ecosystem of your work. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, where can people find all of your work and what you do with Beneath the Fig Tree?
So everywhere I am beneath the fig tree. So, and it's not, everybody's like, why not under the fig tree? Because in the scripture it's under. Well, under was already taken back in the day. So I went to beneath, beneath the fig tree. It's out of John 1. It's Nathaniel's encounter with Jesus, but everywhere. So YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook, and Instagram, which I'm getting a better attitude about. And my website, everything is beneath the fig tree. So it's easier to find me there. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, any parting words of encouragement as it relates to YouTube and using that to build your writerly platform?
You did ask about some best practices earlier, and so I made a list, and I'm actually going to look at my notes here because I think they can be helpful. Number one,
Absolutely.
clarity beats cleverness, and I think we hear that all the time now. We want to have these fun, clever little captions and clever titles. It's not serving our audience very well, and it's not serving our work either. So clarity beats cleverness. Make searchability a part of your care for your audience. We've talked about that. It's so important for them and for the stewardship of the work that you've put so much time into. Shorter is totally fine. Think about where our attention capacity is these days. It's not very long. So don't feel like you have to do a 30-minute or 60-minute or 2-hour piece of content. Most of mine, I try to stay usually under 10, but for sure under 15, and it still serves. We've talked about this. Reuse your content on purpose. Take your long form, turn it into shorts. Those are really like, just make that another piece of your content reuse plan. Think about your content as a library, not as a one-time performance. If you think about each video as, oh, I've got to be on for this, that's a totally different thing. But if you think about this is part of my bigger content library and I'm building something for my audience, that can be a totally different thing. And then the last one we've talked about is make SEO a priority, because that consistency doesn't have to mean constant if you give really good care to SEO and searchability and then good content in the first place.
Those are excellent. Yes, I've told people clarity trumps cute.
Yep,
Like,
always. Yeah,
so yeah, definitely. Well, thanks, Rose, so much. This has been so helpful. And
you bet.
yeah, I hope people can go out and find your work in all of the places. So thanks so much for all your help.
You bet. And if you've got questions on YouTube thingies, I'm not an expert, but I'm happy to share what I know. So you can get me on any of those platforms or just rose at beneaththefigtree.org. I'm happy to help.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
You bet.